with this conversation today about as we approach Independence Day, we had Juneteenth, and Juneteenth for the first time, I'm gonna say, lived out in our community. It was fully an acknowledgement and understanding of the emancipation of slaves as it pertains, like it was really highlighted and always celebrated in Texas. It's not so much celebrated in other places like New York. It's not like done in a celebratory way, even though people who are well grounded in their history do celebrate it. But this year in particular, with all that has gone on, it's forced people to really acknowledge the fact that there are things that we don't talk about as it relates to Black history in the encompass of American history and what's not being taught in school, right?
Lead them to that. As the teacher in the classroom, you have the power to lead your children into so many different ways, 180 days. When I started my career, I remember loving teaching in New York City in particular because there were many places to take my kids. I taught in Bed-Stuy. Many of them had not been out of Bed-Stuy. My first year teaching, I took my kids on 18 damn field trips. 18 field trips all over the place in New York City, places they had never been. Probably couldn't do that now so much because there's so much focus on time and test. But find the limit. So we can easily say, you know, our schools, our administration, our district doesn't allow for certain things. Find the limit. Keep coming up with ideas or thoughts that are in the best interest of kids and your families. Plan them, design them, take them to people, to Verta's point, take them to people over and over and over again. Find the real limit. Sometimes the limit isn't what we think it is. So design, plan what you would like to do. And really, in my opinion, make it about kids discovering who they are.
And I've always struggled with the Declaration of Independence. When I had to start teaching it to my 7th graders, I remember, because you know, you're far removed from history, you don't really pay attention to the text. And then I was reading it and I was just like, wait a minute, you know, life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness, and having to really unpack it with them about, well, who are they really talking about? Who's actually pursuing this life and liberty and happiness? Like, how is it possible? Like, we had to drill down deep that the only person who that document was pertaining to were white men. White men who owned property.
For me right now, the whole thing, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, like, I don't really give a fuck if it wasn't meant for me in your declaration, in your document. It's actually like my human given right to have those things, right? And I feel like, how do we create an educational system that can be critical of and at the same time find ways to create this new? And I think that to me is this balance that we don't often strike. I can be critical. You have to be critical of the United States. You have to be critical of how it is that we got to where we are in this moment. And I can still love that I am here. I get to do that, right? And no one gets to take that away from me. And so when I was thinking about what does it mean, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, I really was thinking about what that means in my body right now, and what that means for those that are with us, that are educators, that are with children. Like, what does it mean now? Because I really, like, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, I could give not a fuck about what they thought that it meant then. Because technically, like, the 4 of us should not even be alive if we think about what it meant, right, to be in a Black body and to be stolen and enslaved, and then have, 400 years ago that happens, and 250 years ago you decide maybe you'll abolish it, then you just a new system of slavery. And while white people are creating generational wealth and doing all that stuff, like, I shouldn't even be here, while ancestors were killed just to be able to read a book, right? Who someone writes on any document has what particular rights. Me and my embodied self, I get to decide that, right? And educators across this land have a moment where you get to decide, are you going to continue to perpetuate the oppression, either with your silence, with your inaction, with your not you're feeling helpless that you can't create said curriculum instead of reaching out to others, or are you going to actually be a part of this revolution?